Right now, let's look again at Lidia Thorpe, the Greens Senator. She plays the race angle for all it's worth, even apparently celebrating last year when Aboriginal activists burned the doors of the old Parliament House. She tweeted, "Seems like the colonial system is burning down. Happy New Year, everyone." Thorpe has now filed the first racism complaint on a register created by activists at a Sydney university. Now, this racism she describes that she suffered in the business class queue for a Virgin flight will turn your hair as grey as mine.
Well, I lined up into the express lane to, board the plane, and I was standing there for 7 minutes, completely ignored. So I jumped over to the general line and then watched others being served in the express lane while I stood in the regular lane. I then proceeded to the check-in desk, where I was told that my handbag was over, which contained my parliamentary iPad and phones, and was asked to take out my water bottle, take out my denim jacket, which I did, and then I was told it was still over, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to leave anything behind, and I said, well, I don't know what to do because I can't leave anything behind. And they proceeded to call security on me. I just don't think this would have happened to a white woman. It happened to me because I believe I was racially profiled, given that the express lane was still taking non-black people very quickly.
So a politician lines up with a bag that's far too heavy, even when she unpacks some of it. She refuses to lighten it, and things get so out of hand that security is called. Now, right now, I'm thinking the problem isn't the Virgin staff, it's the stroppy customer. And she had to wait. Well, Virgin said everyone had to wait that day. There were baggage problems. You know, Thorpe often seems to me to be someone just trawling for trouble. Here she is in the exclusive chairman's lounge at Qantas, still wearing her stolen wealth T-shirt. Being oppressed has never seemed so comfortable. Joining me is Bella de Brera, Director of the Foundations of Western Civilization Program at the Institute of Public Affairs. My problem here, Bella, with such complaints as this, is that they trivialise real racism. In fact, people are going to hear examples like this and think, well, if that's the worst example of racism in Australia today, we've got no problem at all.
Andrew, you're absolutely right. You know, when I read this story, well, I listened to her telling her terrible, woeful story of how she couldn't get quickly enough through the very privileged express lane. And, it's sort of a boy who cried wolf. It's, what happens when there is a real case of someone being a victim of a real racist attack. It's completely detracting from the real problem. Look, Lidia Thorpe occupies one of the most privileged positions in Australian society. She's a senator. She gets a salary, she gets expenses, she gets travel, she gets to go to the chairman's lounge. She had her people help her out of this difficulty in the airport that she'd created for herself. Most of us don't have people to get us out of these fixes. She is not a victim of racism, but she plays it very, very consistently. She has to play it because her narrative, of course, is that the entire country is racist, systematically racist, and that she as well is a victim of racism. And I don't believe her. She was just being a very difficult customer. It's a very handy excuse. She needed to lighten her handbag. Most of us have problems getting through security these days because of there's no staff, and it's totally unrealistic.
Well, I would say spot on there, Bella. And talking about privilege, let's not forget that she is a senator who was not elected to that position. She was selected after a resignation, and of course she was chosen. And the Greens made a big fuss of it because of her race. She was the Aboriginal candidate. They were very proud to have an Aboriginal senator. So let's not start weeping in our hankies about the oppression of poor Lidia Thorpe. Now, the thing is, Bella, we're going to get even more of this race baiting because we are training white children to feel guilty and non-white children to feel resentful. Now, this book, My Skin, Your Skin, is now being sold to Australian schools. A teacher warned me of it, and is also recommended by the Children's Book Council. It calls it empowering, a positive read for the classroom or home, but it teaches racist untruths. For instance, it teaches that racism started a long time ago when white people wanted to have more control over other people who were not white. And it says racism is about the way things are done to stop people who are not white from being equal. Now, Bella, this theory being taught in schools that racism was invented by whites and only non-whites are the victims of racism, is that true or is it false?
It's absolutely false, and it's cruel to actually have this book in the classroom. It is cruel to read this book to any child. This book should not be in any Australian school. It's been doing the rounds in England, and I feel for the poor children that are having to listen to this and believe it. They're essentially being told that if they're white, they're oppressors, they're essentially bad people. You know, you tell a 5-year-old that you're a bad person because of the colour of your skin. How are they going to interact with their little friend who might not be white? How's this going to work in a normal social setting? This is really, really destructive, and it's really divisive. And it's you know, any school that has this book in its classroom, any school that decides to buy this book is actually reneging its duty. You know, these are the people that talk about equity and diversity and inclusion. This is the opposite. This is exclusion. This is not equality. This is damaging. And you know, parents don't want this. They don't want critical race theory in their schools. Last year we did a poll and we asked parents what they thought, and 82% of parents said that on no account should their children be taught that they should be judged by the colour of their skin. So the teachers and the schools that are buying this book and imposing it on the children are completely out of touch with parents. They need to start listening to what the parents want.
And it's so totally ahistorical, which drives me nuts. It's like the Ottomans never kidnapped the children and turned them into janissaries and other slaves, you know, from Greece and from Albania, you know, or there never was an African slave trade involving Africans enslaving fellow Africans, or there never was all sorts of appalling slave-type behaviour in other countries like China, etc. I mean, it's just so ahistorical. Anyway, Bella, thank you so much. It gets me so upset when I hear this sort of nonsense creeping now into schools. It makes me fear for the future. Bella de Brera, thank you for your time.